as we prepare to celebrate the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, a new sculpture was unveiled. And this sculpture is supposedly representing the love between Reverend Martin Luther King and his wife, Coretta. But when I look at this sculpture, I see the total disrespect and utter hatred for Martin Luther King. First of all, these people hate to call the man Reverend. They call him MLK, they call him Dr. Martin Luther King, but they never call him Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. You have guys like Billy Graham, who they call Reverend Billy Graham, but they never call Martin Luther King Reverend. And the man was a minister. So that's my first sign of disrespect. And I've seen many sculptures of the doctor, of the reverend. Most of all have been vandalized or just torn down. The perpetrators never caught. And I think about these people who now claim to love Dr. Martin Luther King. I can remember when the man was spit upon, was beaten, imprisoned, put in the hospital, and ultimately killed. Now today, these same people want to claim that they love Dr. Martin Luther King. Is it really love? I don't think so. Love is an action word. It's just not something that you say, I love you. You show love. And they have never shown love to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I was a kid during those civil rights movements. I saw how they were unleashing police dogs on citizens protesting. I saw how even the fire department joined in and were using those high pressure hoses to rip the shirts and clothes off some of the people out there that were protesting. I've seen the clippings where you had kids even disrespecting the reverend. Fast forward to today, you have people claiming they love Dr. Martin Luther King. And how is it so? If you are not showing love. Black people today are still going through those things that were transpiring in the 60s. You still have discrimination. You still have police beatings. Black people are coming up missing. Black people are ending up dead. So how has things changed from the people that they say love the Reverend? And if they wanted to construct a statue or a sculpture to commemorate the love between the doctor, the Reverend, and his wife, why use a headless sculpture? Not something like this. They could have used this to exhibit the love between the Reverend and his wife, not a headless sculpture. When you think of the Reverend and his legacy, most people think about the I Have a Dream speech. And what was this I Have a Dream speech all about? Racism. The dream he had of little white boys and little white girls joining hands in love. What do these sculptures and statues have to do with any of that? And also, the majority of these statues is not a good likeness of the Reverend. I mean, I don't know who made these sculptures because some of them look nothing like the Reverend. And when you hear these people talk, they always talk about, he was nonviolent. He was nonviolent. Okay, he was nonviolent, but what about you? Were you nonviolent? All you showed the man, all you showed black people was your hatred. Not something because black people, did something to you personally. It's just the hatred that you have in your heart. The hatred that you were born with. Reverend King had a dream of ending racism. But for those other people, that is a nightmare because they do not want to end racism. These people want you to be nonviolent while they exhibit all sorts of violence towards you. It's been over 50 years since the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And what has changed? Nothing has changed. If anything, it has intensified. It has evolved. Black people are being shot in their homes while watching television and eating ice cream. Black people are being shot in their homes while playing video games with their nephews and nieces. Black people are being gunned down because someone made a call and thought that this black person was involved in some type of criminal activity. Instead of constructing all of these statues and sculptures, why don't you just change your ways? Before, I would rather have a statue built of somebody commemorating their legacy. I would rather see you change your ways and stop with the hatred. Stop with the killings. Stop with the beatings. These people do not love Martin Luther King. They hated the man so much, they even killed his mother. These people love black people so much that they would bring over immigrants to replace us. Now that's the love that they show. The homeless population is growing. And now they are making it a crime for you to be homeless. So what they're going to do, lock you up, put you in some type of FEMA camp, make you work like a slave? A lot of us will not approve with the methods of the doctor, but at least he did something. What are black leaders today doing? I hear crickets. The idea of being nonviolent while people are being violent with you is just a bad idea. Let's go and admit that. It was a bad idea. And it cost Reverend Martin Luther King his life. Make all of the sculptures and statues that you want. We know that you haven't changed. You can make all the speeches you want. And we know that you have not changed. Instead of telling us to be like Christ, why don't you be like Christ? But you'd rather not be like Christ. So as we prepare to commemorate the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, remember the past. Remember the mistakes of our ancestors. And let us not make those same mistakes. And when they prepare to construct, unveil another sculpture or a statue or a plaque, simply tell those people, You can keep it. We just want you to change your evil ways.